Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the FitELITE Strong podcast. Corey and Shane here today. And today at FitELITE, we believe in being strong for life. What that means is strong in everyday things that you do in life, and strong for a long, healthy lifespan, being active for as long as you can be for doing whatever you want to do. Right, Corey?
Exactly.
And so, Corey, what are we going to talk about today?
I thought today would be a good piece to talk about another big part of like a foundational lifestyle, which would be your diet, your nutrition. We've kind of covered sleep, strength. So those are the main ones.
Some supplements.
Whip, creatine. So now, huge piece to the puzzle is diet.
Right.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I think intuitively people know that they just need to eat smarter. Like if you don't have a healthy diet, you know when you don't have a healthy diet. I would say, would you agree with that? Based on I would say a lot of times you talk to people who don't know like exactly what that means, and we see some common mistakes that people make that like they're very common. I probably do them a lot of times too, or have done them, and they're common. So I think it's good to talk about what those mistakes are, and then wrap it up with like, okay, this is what it should look like for you on a kind of a daily basis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things, and I think this has to do with everything in life, and I talked to this about with my kids about most aspects of their life, but this is true in nutrition as well. One mistake people make is trying to be perfect in everything they do instead of just being consistent.
I actually wrote down all or nothing mindset.
Right. It's like I have to do this, and if I ruin it, it's all out the window. Might as well just trash this day or trash this week or whatever. But it's more about being consistent 80 to 90% of the time with what your plan is or what you're trying to accomplish, rather than being perfect all the time, because it's just not realistic. There's life that gets in the way, not in the way, but that we live for life, right? And people start feeling guilty about it. So there's some negative self-talk that comes from that. You see binge eating coming on the other side of that. Like I've tried to be so perfect, and now I'm not, and I'm going to go all the way on the other side there. And then you start seeing them like quit entirely with what they're trying to do because it's overwhelming, because they're trying to do it exactly right all the time. And just like anything, whether it's your workout routine, whether it's getting better at a skill, or your nutrition, it's about what you can do consistently rather than what being perfect in that. Would you agree? I said everything. So you have anything to add to that? Yes, he says.
I feel like it's a lot of justifying,
Sure.
right?
You rationalize what you're doing.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Well, I had this really hard workout, so I can eat this food.
Mhm.
Or it's just going to be a month of this diet, and then I can go back to eating whatever I want.
Right.
Or whatever. It's ultimately what I see is extreme restriction, and then what you said, binging after that, going crazy. Because I made it through. Now I'm just going to go back to what I was doing before.
Yeah.
What got me to where I am currently.
Right. Well, and a lot of times people talk about being willpower, right? Like, I lost willpower. But when you're trying so hard to do so many things that are exactly perfect, there's only so many like of these choices that I can make. It just becomes like we talked about before, like decision fatigue or choice fatigue, where if I'm not doing enough, then it becomes defeating. And those things that we do where we quit or feel guilty or binge eat become like where you go to on the other extreme of it, because you're extreme over here, you're going to go to extreme to counter it. Let's just stay in the middle of the road here and try to minimize those waves up and down. Understand there are going to be up and down waves as we go along.
Yeah. Like the things I think of instantly are like a kid's birthday party.
Right. Yeah.
You're just going to try to willpower your way through all that food.
Right.
Rather than accepting that, hey, I could have one.
Right. Or 7. Okay, I'm just kidding. Or 7. Cool. Yeah, that's a good one. So I think being consistent is a big one. Here's another one that we talk about a lot: not eat enough protein. So I think that, so why don't you dive into like the protein talk a little bit here?
Yeah. Well, you can't fall your way into eating enough protein. Like, if you're not trying to eat enough protein,
Right.
you're not going to do it.
Right.
It's extremely hard, and the food environment that we have currently in this country is just extremely hard. Even though it's like Sure, it's getting better because there's more foods that have protein in them, but that doesn't mean your diet's overall better because you're having more protein. You still kind of need to watch what you're eating and how much you're eating. So we want enough protein, especially for strength training, to be able to build lean mass, maintain lean mass. If we're trying to lose some fat, we want enough protein so it's just the fat we're losing and not the lean mass with it.
Right.
Because that's a big piece. What I usually tell people is like 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight is what you should be eating. So if you're 150 pounds, that could be 150 grams, or it could be, I think it's as low as 115 grams of protein. So it's a range that you can be in. That's kind of your ideal range. You don't have to be perfect on this side or perfect on this side. You don't have to go over because there's no benefit to eating even more protein than that. I think 1 gram per pound is like the absolute ceiling of what's actually effective in changes inside your body. So eating more than that, that's not going to help you necessarily. The other thing about protein is there's a thermic effect of food. So to digest it, you have to burn some calories. The protein is one of the harder ones to break down. So it's this long chain, and it's slowly cut down into different pieces that are needed throughout the body. So when we talk about protein, that's how much we want. That's why we want it. And those are the benefits of it. And I've actually also had clients that tell me I feel way more energy now that I'm eating more protein.
Yeah.
And I was reading up on some things here, and like the average person gets like 0.3 to 0.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, which is, for some people, it becomes like, oh, that sounds normal. So if I'm that 150-pound person, I'm getting 45 grams of protein, 45 to 75 grams of protein. And they're like, oh, that's totally normal. When in reality, that 45 grams of protein might be a meal, right? For some, depending on the person, right? That might be one meal, right, for you, or more, right? So like, just realizing that 45 grams for most people, well, for adults, most adults, 45 grams to 60 grams is not enough protein. And a lot of times you do have to be mindful of it, just because, like you said, in our modern food environment, there are a lot more refined carbohydrates that we're eating. They're easier to get to, have access to those. And it's a little bit less expensive to eat some of these refined carbohydrates and processed things. But like in reality, once you understand where you can go find protein, it's not that hard to hit a good number. It's just you have to be aware of what good protein sources are.
And good protein sources is just meat.
Right. Meat, Greek yogurt, dairy, some dairy things if you tolerate it. Yeah. Cool. Here's another mistake that people make, and it's a lot of times I'll say that, like, when I'm training someone to gain weight, like if I have athletes that I'm working with to gain weight, I say, okay, the things that I'm telling you to do to gain weight are the things you probably shouldn't try to do if you're trying to lose weight. And no matter what it is, I think we want to minimize how many calories we drink, or be aware of how many calories you drink. So if I have a body composition change that I'm looking for, I don't want to drink most of my calories. I want to eat more calories than I'm drinking. Does that sound fair to you?
I mean, as a young athlete, I actually tried to drink more of my calories.
And that's what I'm saying, right? So as someone, because you're trying to do what? Gain, right? And so for most people, they're not trying to actually gain weight. There are people who are, but if you're trying to change your body composition where you're losing body fat, maintaining or gaining muscle, you don't really want to drink your calories, right? So like you see a lot of sodas, a lot of the line, and I want to throw out like 7 Brew, the lines there are like insane to me. But you have a lot of really sweetened coffee or caffeine type drinks. You have even like fruit juice. Alcohol is a big one, not just from the carbohydrate standpoint, but from the alcohol standpoint. And then even when people look at smoothies that they think they're having, they're healthy because it's a smoothie, how much sugar is added to that. Just thinking about how many carbs you're getting from just this little drink that's not really that filling a lot of times. So just kind of being aware of how many calories you're actually drinking when you do have some of these drinks.
Yeah, and the same lines, condiments.
Right.
That's a huge calorie sink.
Yeah.
Like if you have mayo and stuff.
Yeah.
And anything mayo based or anything like that, tons of calories in it.
Right. You love mayo, don't you?
I don't actually. Everybody knows I don't have any condiments. I literally don't have any.
You've never had it. You don't use condiments at all? I mean, we're going on a tangent here. This is the normal where I would get off on a tangent. We'll save that for a different day because I have more questions for you on that one.
So yeah, drinking and so when you say drinking your calories, I also think of condiments with that.
Yeah, sure. It's just empty calories.
You don't think of, well, you just don't think of it.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to have this fruit juice. Not thinking of the calories that are in it.
That's very true because and you rationalize it as something healthy because it's a fruit juice, but not realizing that there's calories associated with that. Which kind of brings me, when you say not thinking about like condiments as a place of calories or the juices, I think a lot of times we underestimate portion sizes. So when we do this, I'm having about this much of this, and about this much of this, and I'm this much of this, and we go, okay, that's about this much food. But in reality, it might be, let's say it's 150 calories off, times 3 meals, 450 calories, times 7 days. That stuff adds up where it's easy when you think you're doing one thing, when you think you're doing one thing, but yet you're eating 3,000 calories more in a week, that quickly adds up to gaining almost a pound a week by doing that consistently, right? And so I think that's one thing that people oftentimes look at it and go, that's, So for example, peanut butter, like a tablespoon of peanut butter, people will take a scoop and a tablespoon of peanut butter. But in reality, it's like 5, right? And there's other things like that. Like I'm gonna have pasta or eat a handful of nuts. Here's how many nuts I'm having, but in reality, it's a lot more.
Yeah, portion sizing isn't intuitive.
Right.
You don't know by just looking at it.
Right.
If you've never like measured or weighed things out before, you're not going to just know, that's a serving.
Right. But as you do that, you become a little more familiar with what that looks like. And and this could be another discussion one day, but whether you use a plate method or you use like your hand method to kind of approximate portion sizes, until you have gone through the exercise of actually being aware and measuring what you have there, it's really hard to guesstimate what you're having there. And like I said, that's where you start seeing these extra calories that you think you're not eating, but you are because of the portion size, or you're not counting your condiments, or you're not counting your beverage that you're having with it.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake that people make, is they try to diet without tracking.
Right.
Or they try to lose weight without tracking.
Right.
You're never going to truly know if you're on the right track or if this is working if you're not tracking it. You need the data. It's just data. That's all it is.
Right.
Data is telling you whether you're doing something that's going to get you there or not.
Right.
And that's why being very diligent, and why we're bringing up all these things about exactly what you're putting in your body. Everything down to the very small minutia that you don't think matters.
Right.
Like that little piece of peanut butter off your kid's plate that you ate.
Right. That's another thing you don't count, right? Like the finishing someone else's or eating off their plate or all that stuff. Like we don't count that. That's more stuff that we're not counting. Yeah, very true.
And calories do count on the weekend.
Do they? However, one thing that I do know, if you have like a brownie or cookie and you eat over the sink and the crumbs go into the sink, like that, those calories do not count. That's a rule at our house.
Talking about the crumbles in the sink?
No, the ones I mean, if you eat over the sink, those calories at our house, anyway, I don't know if it's just like a geofence type thing, like we're only inside our house where it doesn't count. I don't know. But
I've also seen where our people put a potato chip on the food scale and it goes 0 across. Oh, that's 0 calories. So you put your chip.
If I put one at a time on there, I'm good.
Yeah, there's 0 calories in one chip. Don't you know
that? So what about this one? Skip meals all day. Don't have breakfast or something really small. Skip lunch. And then they just because we're going to have dinner tonight and we're going to maybe go out to eat, or we have this big dinner plan. And then they just way overeat it. I think that's another one that people don't think of as a thing. Well, but I didn't eat all day. Well, yeah, but then you ate 4,000 calories at dinner. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a strategy people use.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be very popular, intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
I have a certain eating window that I'm going to eat in.
Right.
Some people try to shrink that window as much as possible.
Right.
I'm going to eat for 1 hour.
Right.
I'm going to have one meal a day.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe that works for now.
Right.
What happens after?
Right.
Are you going to stick with that for the rest of your life?
Right.
That's what I think of with all these extreme diets. So like carnivore, keto, Whole30, vegan, if you're going vegan just to lose weight. But obviously if that's a life choice you made, that's a different story.
Right.
But if it's just something to lose weight and you're going to do it for a certain period of time, like intermittent fasting or fasting for a month or whatever, what do you do after? That's always what I wonder with people. Like, what are you going to do after this? You cannot go back to what you were doing before because you're going to gain all the weight again.
Right.
You extremely restricted yourself, and we talked about this earlier. Extreme restriction is going to be an extreme binge afterwards. So you need to have a plan to do it. Best way to do it is do it slowly.
Right.
Yep. And then when people overeat, like there's a couple of things that when you restrict all day and then or you kind of putting off meals until the end of the day, there's certain benefits that you're not getting, right? If I'm trying to build muscle and I've worked out in there, especially at my age, I probably want to have protein throughout the day, right? As opposed to in one meal.
Because you're old?
Because I'm old.
Oh.
Yeah.
The research I've seen is as long as you get enough protein in your day, doesn't matter.
Even at one meal.
Even at one meal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest it for anyone to eat 150 grams of protein in one meal. Theoretically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what about people who, another one is over restricting their calories?
Yeah.
When people go crazy and they say, I'm only going to have eat 1,200 calories today. Right. And they're 180-pound person and they're eating 1,200 calories a day. What's the downside of that? I'm going to lose weight, right?
Are you calling me out?
No.
Because I'm currently doing something like that.
Right. But you're not long term. You're doing it for like 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, one of those fad diets, huh?
I am currently eating 1,400 calories a day.
Right.
Just for 2 weeks. Doing it alongside a client.
Yeah.
Partially to help them move the needle and actually,
Right.
be a little more calculated with how much they're eating and understanding and bringing awareness to that, because they've just been stuck for so long that we got to do something different to move the needle. So that would be an aside, and I'll tell you my experience with that is I'm thinking about food constantly. At 1,400 calories, I'm thinking about food constantly, but I'm still getting 120 grams of protein, trying to get as much fiber as I can with fruits and vegetables.
Sure.
But still, I'm thinking about food all the time.
Right.
And so knowing that, there's a good chance that I would want to binge.
Right.
After this 2 weeks.
Right.
So I just have to understand where my headspace is at, where my hunger levels are at.
Are you approaching the end of your 2 weeks right now?
Sunday will be the end.
Yeah.
Sunday will be the end. So it's just understanding that if you've been through it a couple times, but if you've never been through it before, if you extreme, like you're saying 1,000 calorie plus deficit, that's extreme. It's really hard to sustain for a long period of time.
Right.
Sure, you're going to get results fast.
Right.
But the likelihood of you rebounding and binging and gaining it all back is very, very high. You just won't have the discipline.
And when you do that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll see like a metabolic slowdown, your metabolism slow down if you do it long term. This is your consistent way of eating. By underfueling consistently, your metabolism will slow down a little bit. Is that a fair way of saying it? Yes. You'll probably see some muscle loss, which is not really, long term.
Depends on what you're doing.
Right.
There's other factors that you...
Right. But we're not talking about your 2 week. We're saying this is habitually. Okay.
6 months.
Yep. And then you talk about rebound weight gain. I've done this for a long time, and now I go the opposite direction, or I haven't changed certain habits. I just restricted for a long period of time. So I'm going to throw a number out there. You tell me if it seems reasonable. If you're going at a calorie reduction, and I actually use this for like a calorie surplus if someone's trying to gain muscle, 300 to 500 calories a day.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty reasonable because, if someone's trying to, I'll use it if someone's trying to gain weight, gain muscle, you get much above that, you're going to start increasing your body fat as well. Right. So if you go to, a 500 pounds, so my oldest son, Cam, is trying to gain weight for football, plays college football. And one of the things is we have him in a surplus, but not a huge surplus. Like he would have in the past eaten, thousands of calories trying to gain weight, but then he's like, now I'm fat and slow. I don't feel good about this, right? But if he's trying to gain muscle, right, then that 500 calories surplus per day should be good. And then he kind of tracks that. And the same thing holds true if I'm trying to lose weight. Yes, if you restrict it more, I'll lose weight a little faster potentially, but there's other effects in it and maybe not as sustainable. But if I go 300 to 500 calories, That might be something I can manage better, and I can lose some steady weight consistently over time.
Yep. Makes me think about another mistake of like, so you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to diet, and you have cheat meals.
Yeah.
Right.
I earned that, or I did this long, so I'm gonna have a cheat meal. Right. And that cheat meal is excessive, right? Is that kind of the problem with the cheat meal? Yeah. It's usually going to be excessive, right?
Yeah. So say you had a 500 calorie deficit every day, 6 days. What's that? 3,000. And then on your cheat meal, you eat 3,000 calories.
I ate a whole pizza by myself.
It would be 3,000 probably plus calories.
Yeah, right.
So right there, you are not going to lose any weight,
right?
Because you just equated your calories across the week. You made it up for it.
Yep. And I've done well all week, and then I have that one day, and right. The one thing I want to touch on that you mentioned earlier when you were talking about the calorie restriction that you're working on for that 2 weeks is a lot of people don't get enough fiber. Would you agree with that?
Yes, that's actually something I wrote that down.
Do you have a target that you try to get in amount of fiber per day when you're doing this?
Right now, currently, as much as I can, which is like 15, 20 grams.
Sure.
Of fiber, which is more than most people get in a day.
Yeah, most people get like 10 to 15 maybe, and probably by accident.
Or they get 0.
Right, or 0, right. Because they're eating no fruits or vegetables, no high fiber, carbohydrates, other carbohydrates. So would a normal kind of range for people of fiber be somewhere between like that 25 to 40 grams of fiber? Does that sound?
I think like it also depends on your body size, like how big you are. The bigger you are, the more you're going to want. But like, 20 to 30 grams is recommended.
Yeah. And that helps with digestion, right? Helps with your gut microbiome, cholesterol levels.
I don't know about that actually. I'm not sure.
There you go. I looked it up. Yeah, helps with cholesterol also. You feel a little more full when you're eating higher fiber foods. And then, we talked about my one son being a type 1 diabetic and making sure we're getting fibers because it does help regulate your blood sugar levels a little bit more.
Slows down the process.
Right. So there's a lot of good, so where do you get your fiber from? Just primarily fruits and vegetables?
I wrote some things down. So some like simple swaps you could do to get more fiber. So if you're eating rice, instead of white rice, go brown rice. So that you have the shell on it. So that's an easy swap. Just change to brown rice. If you're having bread, get 100% whole wheat bread. Super easy. Flour tortillas could be a whole wheat tortilla or like a grain-free tortilla. You could add like chia seeds or flax to anything almost. If you're having yogurt, throw it in there. You could throw fruit in there as well if you're at it. Other things you could do is like get a frozen bag of veggies.
Right.
There's a bunch of fiber for you and a whole bunch of other vitamins and minerals that are super beneficial.
We found these fire roasted veggies from, I think she got them at Costco maybe, or Aldi, I don't remember where. But like we're gonna have them tonight with some salmon, and you put them in like a little bit of olive oil and you cook them on. They're so good. They taste great. But another one is like overnight oats. So you get some protein in there. You get your oats from that. You throw some chia seeds in there and some fruit. So now you get some protein and fiber, and it's pretty easy to put together. So, I mean, I think that's some good ways to get some fiber in there.
Yeah. So we talked about a lot of mistakes, things that you should be thinking about when you're talking about your nutrition, your diet, what you're eating is obviously protein. Like we said, want to get enough protein. We want to get enough fat as well. Like we don't want to drop our fat in grams to 0.
Right.
Because we use fat to create cholesterol. Cholesterol creates some hormones. Right. So it's a building block of what our body uses to produce hormones. So we want to have enough fat, and usually the rule is like a third of your body or a third of your calories should be coming from fat. Right. So we never want to drop that ever low. And eating as much as you can and still reaching your goals. Right. Like we kind of touched that earlier, but like if you're trying to lose weight, it's not eat as little as possible.
Right.
Lose weight as fast as possible.
Right.
That's the mistake. So we're eating as much as we possibly can. We're thinking about as much volume as we can pick up.
Right.
So that's fiber, that's fruit, that's vegetables, whole foods,
Right.
80 to 90% of the time
Right.
is what our focus should be. Have your fun foods on top of that. But overall, the most stuff that you're eating should be whole foods that are single ingredient.
Right.
Or yeah, you can name all the ingredients, right. Right. I see what you're saying. Trying to eat things at one, yeah, try to eat things that by themselves at one point were alive.
Are plants alive?
Yeah. When you eat them, create a plan that allows you to get to a certain number of calories. Tinker with those calories incrementally, right? Not big changes right away. Changes over time, adjusting as needed based on if you're heading towards your goal. If your goal is gaining muscle or gaining weight, then we slowly uptick those calories to see how it's impacting us. If our goal is losing weight, then I slowly tinker with those calories to make sure that I'm going in the right direction that I want to go. And then every once in a while, you might need a little shock to the system because you plateaued and you do a 2-week calorie deficit, and then you reset back to a maintenance level, right? I'm assuming that's your plan.
Yeah. Yep.
Reset
Reset to a maintenance level, and then continue forward with that.
Yeah. How I'm gonna figure that out is with my scale.
Right.
Like what is my body weight? Is my body weight going up each week? Is it going down each week?
Right.
Is it staying the same? That's kind of how I figure out, am I eating enough?
And that's the easiest way. And that's how I have clients do it all the time too. It's just that scale tells me real fast if it goes up more than a pound. If they're gaining weight, it goes up more than a pound in a week. We're gaining 3 pounds in a week. We're probably eating too much food. If I'm losing 3 pounds in a week, probably not eating enough food, right? Typically. So yeah, so we talked about some of the common mistakes that people make when they are thinking about nutrition. You wrapped up with how they should approach their nutrition. It's simple but not easy, right? It does become challenging. There's a lot of confusion out there because there's a lot of different things to listen to. But what I heard you say is find out roughly how many calories you need, adjust accordingly, incrementally by eating whole foods, and eat as much volume of food as you can to still stay within the range of your goals, so you feel full and you're not thinking about food 24 hours a day. Is that accurate? All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, guys, to talk about nutrition a little bit. Hopefully you got some great ideas from this that you can implement. Reach out to us anytime if you have questions that follow up with this, because it is confusing. It is complicated to navigate all the information out there. So we're here to be a resource for you anytime you need it. So thanks for joining us.